welcome along to session 3 in this challenge, this 5-day challenge, all about how to create your very own 6-figure career. So we've spent the last 2 days, we've talked about mindset and you understanding the executive mindset you need to have. And we've talked about success. So hopefully now you're very clear on what success looks like for you. And I'm really hoping that you've done some of the work on the skills, because that will help you with today's session. So this session is all about being able to position yourself as the best possible candidate. Because in order to go for that 6-figure job, you absolutely need to be able to do this. You really need to get clear on all your skills. You need to be comfortable in selling yourself. You have to believe that you are good enough, because you are good enough. You definitely are. You need to believe it. And then you need to be able to get that across to other people. Because, you know, in the world, we need more female senior leaders. There's not enough of us. We want to be role models for generations coming through. And it's our responsibility to do that, to become that role model, you know, for your own family, for the people coming up behind you. So what happens is we stop ourselves, particularly as women. We're not very good at selling ourselves. We think it's a bit sleazy, a bit arrogant. We don't like showing off. But there's more to it than that. And it's not all about, you know, you showing off. It's about having the skills to tell somebody else, you know, what you can offer them, what you can provide for them. So, you know, one of the things I've noticed quite a lot, and maybe you've seen it too, is that sometimes the candidates that are appointed are definitely not the best people for the job. How many times have you seen it yourself in your career where somebody gets promoted and you wonder how on earth that happened? Or maybe they're okay, they're definitely not the best person for the job. The people that actually get appointed are the people that are best at selling themselves, the people that are best at telling that they are the right person for the job. And that's what we want for you. We want you to be able to position yourself as the best possible candidate. Are you ready? I'm going to talk about 2 big strategies here today. And the first one is all about being more visible. Because we like hiding, don't we? We hide behind our desks, we hide behind our jobs, we're too busy. But we really have to get better at being visible. This really helps you because people will get to know you, and what they'll see is actually how capable you are. And you can start to show them the potential that you've actually got and how good you really are. And ultimately, it can create opportunities, just getting out there and getting known a bit more. But what happens is we sit in our little safe zone with the people that we know, with the job that we know, and we just feel very nervous about getting out there. But you really have to. And this is strategy number 1 for positioning yourself as the best possible candidate. So how do we do that? How do we get more visible? Well, some simple things that you can do. You've just got to start to think a bit differently about it. So the first thing is you need to speak up. When you're in that meeting, you need to say something. You need to ask a question. You need to share an idea. You need to share an opinion. Because if you just sit there in a meeting not saying anything, then you're not showing your skills. Nobody's going to get to know how capable you are. Nobody knows what your thoughts are. Nobody knows what you could implement or what ideas you've got moving forward, because you keep your mouth shut. So you have to speak up when you go to these meetings. And actually, even if this is just an informal chat, you know, somebody stops you in the kitchen making a cup of tea, if you happen to be in the office, and they say, you know, how are you? You don't just say, fine, thank you. You say, actually, I'm really good because I've just completed this project. Sell yourself to people. Just a little snippet, not a whole essay, not your life story, just a little snippet, one thing that you're proud of. One-to-ones, ideal opportunity. You know, I know the one-to-ones should be created to give you that environment, but often they're not. So you need to create that environment yourself and not be shy about actually, you know, sharing what you have done well, what you've achieved. So this is about always participating in any meeting, any situation you find yourself in. Make sure you always participate. Make sure you contribute something valuable of use. Don't be scared to share your ideas and opinions, but you do need to just be careful how you do that, because it needs to be positive or constructive. It's not about forcing your ideas on somebody. It's just about expressing an idea. Sometimes you have to accept that, you know, it's okay to speak it, but it might not get taken up. But that's okay. You still say it anyway, because it might not be a good idea for this time, but it might be a good idea for next time. So it is about being positive, about being constructive. Nobody likes a negative Nelly. If you've got something criticism, then do it in a constructive feedback type way. That's okay. But most of the time, we want you to be speaking up in a positive, corporate, supportive way. And if that scares you, then prepare for it beforehand, particularly if you're going to a meeting. You can look down the agenda, you can see what's on the agenda, you can think, oh, actually, I think I've got something to say about that. What is it that I could say? So you're not just doing it on the hoof. And there might be times when you do end up looking stupid, or you do come up with an idea that nobody's going to take up or nobody agrees with. But that's okay as well. Just learn from that, learn about how you could approach it differently next time, but don't not say it. You absolutely have to get out there and show up. Speaking up is one of the best ways of becoming visible. One other thing to think about is getting involved. So get involved in anything else that's going on in the business wherever you can. You know, maybe there are some focus groups going on, particularly around the time when you're doing like 3-year vision planning and strategy planning. Then there'll be groups, you know, focus groups, strategy groups. Get yourself involved, make sure you have your say, share your corporate view, be positive and supportive of the environment. Volunteer to help your manager with the tasks that they've got on. Volunteer to help in projects that are going on. If there's some new task or something's coming into your team, volunteer to look at how it can be implemented. Just get yourself involved in anything else that's going on. Do be careful what you get involved in, because what you're looking for is things that are going to help you get to that next step. So it is important to be visible, and absolutely get involved wherever it's appropriate, but try and find things that you're going to learn something from, as well as showing up who you are and showing the knowledge you've got. Try and find things that will help you get to that next step as well. Because, you know, getting involved in things, it'll improve your knowledge. And it'll show you different parts of the organization that you didn't know before. So all of this is good for, you know, an overarching development tool for you, but gets you out there and gets you known to people as well. And then the third thing I want to talk about with regards to being visible is networking. Oh, am I scaring you now? I'm scaring you, because nobody likes going networking. But it's a fantastic way to create opportunities. And it is scary, but it can be really effective. You've got to get out there on your own. Don't take a colleague with you, otherwise you just talk to your colleague. So you've got to get out there. You've got to have the confidence to go to a networking event, some kind of conference, on your own. Go and meet people, go and talk to other people. And this is about building your connections, building up your own network, because we're not very good at that as women. We build relationships, but we don't capitalize on them. So we think it's rude in that, but actually this is about networking. This is a two-way street. When you're looking for a job, then you put it out there, and actually your network will think, oh, I wonder if there's a job coming up. You know, people will come to you if they think that you might be suitable for a job or a project or something that they're involved in. But only if you build these relationships with people, go and build your network, and then nurture that network. Don't just meet them once, grab their business card and sit at your desk. You know, a couple of weeks later, email them, oh, it was great to meet you. What's going on in your life? Can we meet for coffee, virtual coffee, whatever? Build up these connections. And so you've got people to go to when you need to be networking about anything, whether it's a new job or whether actually it's just something in your business that it would benefit your current job and the company you work for now to learn something from somebody else. You know, networking is a really good thing. It is a long-term strategy, networking, but I promise you, networking can really create some fantastic opportunities for you over a period of time. So start now. And I know that people will say, I haven't got the time to go networking, I haven't got time to do take on other tasks. Find the time, because this is about your career, not your job. You need to, you know, rein back a bit on your job to give yourself the time and the energy to go and do some of these things that are ultimately going to impact positively your career. So time is not an excuse. Okay. So that is strategy number one. It's all about getting seen, getting known, so people know who you are and what you're capable of. The second thing is all about selling yourself. So this is about getting comfortable with sharing your successes. This is about saying I and not we, because we do that a lot, don't we? When people say, that was a great project. Oh, no, it was a team effort. We did it well together. But you need to start saying I. Now, this isn't about claiming other people's achievements. This is just about claiming your achievements. There will be a part that you played in whatever project success that there was. So you need to focus on that. You know, I brought in this project on time and in money. I removed the blockers for my team to deliver X. I improved satisfaction by X%. You need to be talking about I. Okay, and particularly in interviews, because they're not interviewing your team, they're interviewing you, and they want to know about what you can do. So you have to get comfortable with claiming your achievements and saying I. So I'm going to give you some good tips for interviews, for interviewing for those next level jobs. But some of these tips can be used in other forums as well. So even if it's in a meeting or one-to-one, these are things that you can use there as well. But I want to focus mainly on sort of how you would perform at interviews, because that is going to be critical in order, you know, you need to get good at interviews in order to follow through on your six-figure career. So the first thing with regards to any interview is to prepare for it. Now, that sounds obvious, and I'm sure you will all go away prepare, but just make sure you're preparing the right things. So the first thing is to really look at the job description and match your skills against that job description. So you're very clear. So when you're in an interview, you're not giving our examples about a job that something that isn't relevant to this job. You need to be very clear on what the job is asking for and how your skills relate to that. You also need to be thinking about the outcomes, and this is what you should have done in your skills things from the last session, is understanding the skills that you've got, the outcomes. You know, when in an interview and they ask you a question, it's all about outcomes. It's not about I'm a great communicator. It's about what does that mean? What did that result in? So you need to be clear on things like, you know, I increased customer satisfaction by X% in 2 years, or I improved the staff engagement in my team, or I reduced the letting times, or invoices are now paid 99% within time. Whatever it is, wherever you can put a number on it, the better. The smarter the answer, the better, because that's what people are looking for. And particularly at that next level up, it's all about accountability, responsibility. It's all about achievements. It's less about the process to get there. So that's your first bit of preparation, is to sit down and, you know, match your skills to the job description. You need to identify the gaps perhaps that you've got and think about how you're going to deal with those gaps. If a question comes up on something you haven't done, then how do you answer that? And one thing I would say is never say can't or haven't. Just try and reword it like a politician might do. Tell them what you have done, or tell them what you would do. Don't ever use the negative language, because that's all they hear. They might not even hear the actual answer. They'll just hear the negativity of the language, the can't and the haven't. So always make sure that what I would do is, or what I have done is, or what I could do, just always make it a positive thing that you're going to talk about. So the other thing to research, to prepare for, is research. So you need to research the organisation. You know, what are their vision and values? What language do they use? So that you can use that. If they talk about innovation and, you know, forward thinking, then that's what you talk about when you talk about your answers. If they talk about, you know, sales and commerciality, then that's how you phrase your answers. You try and use the language that appeals to them, and look up the organisation. You know, what are their challenges at the moment? What have their successes been? What is it you know that they're going to have to work on? You know, what is their mission? And at this point, take the opportunity to revisit, does this organisation match with my values? Because this is, you know, it's not too late at this point to make sure that they do match. Yeah, so talk about that, talk about their, you know, in their language, focus on their challenges, but also remember to research the interview panel, because often when you get invited to interview, they'll give you the names of the people that are interviewing you. So look them up on LinkedIn. See if you've got some kind of connection with them or something in common that you could talk about, just to build that relationship. Because an interview is all about building relationship. And actually, ultimately, it's less about the answers that you give and more about the feeling that you give them, whether you fit into the team. So try and build that relationship with them. Now, the second part of interview prep is all about practice. So this is about, you know, what sort of questions do you think they're going to ask you? Write them down and practice answering them using all of the transferable skills that you've got, and really delve into, this is where the outcomes and the results are really come into their own. It's all about the outcome and the results. Don't waffle your way through it. You know, be very clear about what it is you're actually answering. Now, the trick here when you're answering questions is to think about the next level. The job that you're applying for is at the next level. What are they expecting somebody to answer at that level, in that job? Not in the job that you're in now, but in that level. How can you use different language? How can you make it sound a bit more strategic? How can you position yourself already as thinking like that next level? So if you're applying for a head of service role, then what does that? What would a head of service do? If you're going up that, if you're applying for a chief exec role, then what would the chief exec be thinking? What would their answer be to that job? Try and put yourself in their shoes and think about how you can reword the answers to these questions as if you're already in that role, because that is what they're looking for. You often hear that people employ people who've already got most of the experience. You need to sound like you have. Whether you have or you haven't, you need to talk a good talk with authority, talk with confidence, talk up a level. Imagine you're in that job and you're asked a question. You know, it's about using that language of authority and definitely focusing on the outcomes and results. That is the biggest trick. And remember, only positive answers. Now, practicing, I'm sure most of you will prepare and practice, but do you do it out loud? You have to practice it out loud, because what you say in your head sounds very different when it comes out. In your head, you can say and ah and start the sentence several times, but when it comes out of your mouth, it will sound different. And I do interview prep sessions for people. So if you've got that fantastic interview coming up for that dream job and you want some help with your interview prep, then give me a shout, because I do interview prep sessions. They're 90 minutes. We properly prepare for the job that you're applying for. We will go through role play so that we can help you answer those questions at the right level, using the right language, selling yourself. And I've had some amazing results from these sessions, and I find it so rewarding. I really enjoy doing them. It's a bit icky to start with, because I'm asking you a question and you're role playing it and you're telling me the answer. But what I've seen so many times, all the time, in fact, without exception, that when we start at the beginning of the 90 minutes, the words come tumbling out in no particular order and they don't sound great. By the end of the 90 minutes, it's much more professional. It's quite slick. And even though we don't know exactly what the questions are going to be, it just makes you feel more confident. So whether you use me or not, practice these things out loud. Answer the question. So just start with a simple question that's like, why do you want this job? And give a couple of minutes answering why you want that job. But do it in the mirror, or get somebody else to ask you the question. Or even better, video yourself doing it and then watch it back. People say to me, I really hate doing this, Sheila, because it's embarrassing. Well, who else is going to see it? Nobody else is going to see it apart from you. But the power of video is incredible. Just video yourself doing the answers and then do them again and then do them again. Just keep practicing them until they trip off the tongue with a nice, professional, slick answer. I promise you, practicing out loud is an absolute game changer. You need to be doing that in order to practice selling yourself and getting comfortable with it. And, you know, I promise you, it just makes all the difference. Now, when you are talking and answering these questions, one of the tricks that I tell people is to feel proud. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel like you're showing off. Start to think, do you know what? I actually am really proud about what I achieved with that. And I'm really happy to tell somebody. So think about feeling proud about what you've actually achieved. Okay, so the third step in the interview practice in selling yourself is all about performance. So this is how you perform on the day. Now, again, a lot of this will make sense and, you know, you'll have heard it before, but let me just remind you the difference it makes. So make sure you're sitting tall. Make sure you've got a good posture, that your shoulders are back. Now, this shows you as an authority. It shows that you're confident. But what it really does is it makes you feel slightly more confident than you're already feeling. Feet flat on the floor so that you haven't got any shaking going on, because you might be trembling a bit when you're in an interview. Your mouth will go a bit dry. Make sure you've got some water there and just take some water as you need it. But sit tall and put your shoulders back and sit up. And as I say, that makes you look confident, but it also helps you feel a bit more confident as well. Make sure to speak clearly and concisely. No waffling, no going around the houses, no going off at tangents. Keep your answers. Remember what it is they've asked you. And if you find you go off in a tangent, then just say, oh God, sorry, I'm really sorry. Let me just bring this back, and just bring it back. They're humans. You're human. They'll understand that you're nervous. Just stop yourself and start it again if need be. But make sure it's clear and concise. And when you're videoing yourself, this is one of the things that you can see. You know, what's your volume like? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? Are you too fast? Are you too slow? These are all things you can critique yourself on to get better at it. make sure you're making eye contact. You know, there'll be a panel of people. If you're on video, make sure you're looking at the camera and not the screen. But if you're in person, then look, you know, move your view from person to person. Often you might speak to the person who asked the question, but just making sure you're making eye contact and smile. You know, not inappropriately, not making fun of anything, but just smile, be pleasant, but look open and approachable, because they need to know that they can work with you. They need to know that you're going to fit in with the team. So, you know, be open about it, look approachable. And the other thing I want you to remember here is they need you. They're out there looking for somebody. They've got a vacancy to fill. They need somebody to do that job. So rather than going into it thinking, I really need this job, go into it thinking, they really need me. They need me. I need to tell them how I can help them with the problem that they've got, which is recruiting for this job. Just a little mindset flip can sometimes help you think a bit differently. So that's how you sell yourself. It's all about being proud. It's about being clear. It's about knowing the answers. But the biggest thing is all about practice. This is the absolute game changer, speaking it out loud. So, you know, make sure that you find a way to do that. And as I say, I do these sessions. So if you need that help, then but I mean, they're £247 for a 90-minute session, but I do lots of prep beforehand to make sure that we're asking the right questions. I'll research the company and look for their vision and values as well. And say, I've got some clients who have got jobs they never thought they were going to get by going through this process. So anyway, I'll leave that with you. But let's just summarize what we've talked about. So what we've talked about is in order to position yourself as the best possible candidate, you need to be more visible. So you need to speak up, you need to show up, you need to get involved, and you need to go networking. And then you need to sell yourself. So you need to prepare for the situation that you're going to be in, whether it's a meeting or whether it's an interview. Prepare as much as you can. You need to practice it out loud. Whatever you're doing, practice it out loud, because that gets you more confident with the answers that you can give. And then on the day, make sure that you perform well. You know, actually come in with an air of authority, shoulders back, sit up, clear and concise, and all of this will help you position yourself as the best possible candidate, remembering that you're answering the question at that next level. What would that next level person actually say? That is what you're aiming for. So I hope that's been useful. Tomorrow we're going to talk about finding the gaps. So what are the gaps that you've got between where you are now and where you want to get to, and how can we work on those? So that'll be the next session. Okay, good luck with it.